So we just got done watching Who Killed WCW episode 2, and yeah, we have some thoughts on it, and we're going to go over things that we learned from that second episode. Number 5 is Bill Goldberg was terrible in the ring. So if you watch the episode, you'll see just how green that Bill Goldberg was. And he went on this undefeated streak, and Eric Bischoff really didn't want him to lose, and his matches were booked to finish really fast. So he only had to do at least 2 or 3 moves and the match was over. In most of the matches that he did have, he would end up hurting or injuring his opponents. Now look, we don't know whose fault that is. Some blame definitely lies on Bill Goldberg for that. But also WCW for not training him properly, not giving him matches where he can learn his craft. His matches were very quick and they'd end within 3 minutes and he'd do 3 moves. So how much can you really learn from that? Number 4 is Bret Hart being booked terribly in WCW, and boy, is he still salty about it.
Listen, nuts. Is there anybody here that's got any brains? Stupid, stupid, stupid every day, every night.
So Bret Hart was brought into WCW for so much money, and as you see in the episode, he debuted for their new show, which was very highly pushed against because they didn't have enough talent to go around to have 2 shows. And for the first 3 Nitros, he wasn't even booked. He said he'd show up to the venues and he wasn't even used. So he was very frustrated. Boy, oh boy, is he still salty about Bill Goldberg. So there's a moment in the episode where he's wrestling Bill Goldberg, and he goes out and he says before the match, "Bill, please don't hurt me. Please look after me in there." What does Bill Goldberg do? Kicks him straight in the face, gives him a concussion, and ends his career. And it's really funny because then they cut to Bill Goldberg and he's very, wasn't my fault, bro. Not my fault. I told you to watch for the kick. And he said, watch for the kick. And Bret Hart's like, what does that mean? Runs to the ropes, comes back in, takes a kick to the head. And yeah, Bill's not apologizing, and Bret is still very pissed off, which he has every right to be. Number 3 is that Kevin Nash should have never been made a booker. So basically it just shows Eric Bischoff just under heaps of pressure, and Kevin Nash goes up to him and says, would you like me to relieve some of that pressure? And do you want me to be the booker? Which is a terrible idea. A talent should never be a booker because they will usually always go into business for themselves. Which he did because he booked himself to stop the undefeated streak of Goldberg in the most ridiculous ways. He doesn't even beat him clean, which most people think he should have. He has to taser him with a taser gun, and then they pin him. It's a terrible outcome, and I don't know what they're thinking making Kevin Nash the booker. And number 2, NWO had far too many people in their group. It's almost like Eric Bischoff just ran out of ideas, and they just kept putting people in the NWO. They even put Dusty Rhodes in the NWO at one point. I guess they figured, this thing is a good thing we got going. Let's just keep that going, and hopefully the crowd will enjoy that. But they really started to boo against them. And then once the ratings started to go down, WCW were winning the ratings for like 83 weeks in a row off the back of NWO. But after 80 weeks, you don't want to keep seeing the NWO. The WWF had Stone Cold, they had The Rock, they had the Attitude Era, they had D-Generation X. You could say that they were sort of copying or using the template that WCW and the NWO used, but I think the WWF did it better because they had more of a variety to their show. And number 1 is the fumbling of Sting. Now look, the finish of the match between Hulk Hogan and Sting will go down as one of the worst endings in any wrestling match. The build-up was great from what I've seen, and then for them to deliver what they did really made the crowd pissed off at them. The finish was absolutely garbage, and honestly that may have been the death of WCW. What killed WCW? Probably not letting their babyface win the way that he should have. Hulk Hogan was supposed to put over Sting clean, but you know what he said when he got to the building? That's not going to work for me, brother. I'm really enjoying this documentary. I've always really found it hard to find stuff on WCW. Obviously, we know all about it, but to see the interviews from the people involved, like Goldberg, Bret Hart, Diamond Dallas Page, Even The Rock's there for some reason, I guess because he's a producer on the thing. It's just really cool, and I hope they keep doing stuff like that. I'd love to see an ECW one, and eventually we'll be seeing an AEW one.